Let's do it.
All right, we're live.
Are we live?
Yeah, you two vamp for a minute because I gotta
Hold on.
I gotta fix a setting.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Ryan, because I know
Yeah.
your music taste, this is an actually important question that we won't have time to cover in the show, but it's so freaking important to me.
Okay.
Ryan, are you familiar with the band Austrian Death Machine?
No, but I want to know.
What are you even doing? Hold on a second.
Yeah, you need to send that to me.
I will. This is a band called Austrian Death Machine.
Okay.
And it's based entirely around obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger. But
Yeah.
before each and every one of the songs, they do just like a weird like clip of it. So there's like
Yeah.
a whole song dedicated to Rubber Baby Buggy Bumpers.
God.
But and it was made in a very specific time when he was
It's
governor
metal,
of
though,
California.
right?
Yes, it's very
Okay.
metal.
Okay.
So like
okay, good.
the first one, like the first intro is like, "Hi, it's me, the gummy bear of Candy Cornia," and like, it's so good, and it has no right to be. It's like that metal Batman that keeps coming up once every couple months, where it has no right to be as good as it is.
Yeah, there's a band that's older, Hyper Crush. They have a Christmas album that is like a bunch of like classic Christmas like pulp culture like Christmas songs, but
Yeah.
in between each song is a audio from some 80s 90s celebrity or from some 80s 90s Christmas movie quote that's like in between each song that like leads you out of the song and then into the next one. It's great.
That's really fun.
I'll actually make you I'll play it for you the next time you're in town.
Good, because the topic of today's podcast reminds me of a song they do. The title of the song is technically "Nya!" but then they've shortened it to "Get to the Chopper,"
Yeah.
which I absolutely love.
Yeah, which is from this movie.
What?
We'll talk.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about
we
that
will
later.
talk. Yeah, we will.
All right, I think we're ready to get into it. I think I updated everything I needed to update. I am recording. Are you guys recording?
I am recording.
I know we have a tendency to
I am
forget about that.
recording now. Recording.
All right. Well, hey, let's get into it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Have to Watch This Podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Devin. I tried.
You tried.
I won't even try.
I know you won't. You'll have to later. And today, welcome to You Have to Watch This Podcast. Every week on the show, we have each other. Somebody picks a movie out that one of us has never seen before, and we talk about it for the very first time. Today's pick, Ryan had Devin and I watch the 1987 film Predator, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and that guy from The Mandalorian. I think Ryan thought I was going to say the guy from Fortnite, but
our image
We've already had an argument over that.
We have.
We've already had our argument.
But we'll talk about that later. Before we get into today's show, I have a little bit of a follow-up from last week's show that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So last week, if you didn't tune in, you missed a hell of a good show. We talked about the 2010 film MacGruber, which is great if you have a certain taste for comedy. Like Devin and I. If you have Ryan's taste for movies, maybe not for you. But the reason we talked MacGruber last week is because of the Peacock show MacGruber. And last week, none of us had seen any of the show yet. I am proud to say I have seen the first episode of MacGruber. And I am here to report back that it's exactly the same tone as the movie.
So I'll love it. Ryan will hate it.
Well, they do a little bit more with the character of MacGruber. Like, he's not as pathetic of a character this time around. Like, he has to like make amends because he goes to jail. Spoilers. He goes to jail for killing Val Kilmer at the end of the movie.
Oh.
And if you haven't seen the movie, they do a whole recap a la James Bond theme songs of the movie with Maya Rudolph in the wedding dress.
That's fun.
But he like goes to jail for killing him, and I guess in the process of his trial, he blamed both Kristen Wiig and Ryan Phillippe's characters for everything. So like they both want nothing to do with him.
Oh wow.
And there's some good jokes in there. Lawrence Fishburne did not return for the Matrix Resurrections, but he is in MacGruber. playing
Who is
like
he in this?
he's like the general role, like he's the head military guy who
Oh.
brings MacGruber back into the swing of things. Um, and they recreate a scene from the movie with Lawrence Fishburne, and I gotta say, saw a lot more of Lawrence Fishburne than I ever thought I'd see.
Was it the celery?
No,
Oh.
it's a scene with Kristen Wiig, and that's all I'll
Oh
say.
no. All right. Well, I'm
Yeah.
excited to watch this.
Yeah.
Well,
Devin,
happy to
I definitely
adore it.
recommend it for you. Ryan, I think if you gave the first episode a shot, you'd be intrigued with what I think you might be more interested in the character in this than you would in the film.
This coming from the person who said that if I wanted to, if I was interested in an A-team parody, that there'd be an aspect of the movie MacGruber I would like.
There was.
No,
There
there
was.
wasn't.
There was.
For like a second until they all blew up.
That
Yeah.
was not an A-team thing. That was-
Okay. Well, anyway, I recommend that for Devin. Ryan, maybe not so much. But we do have some. We don't usually do this, but a trailer dropped today that we all watched. So I figured we'd talk a little bit today about the Marvel's Moon Knight trailer that dropped, starring Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke. So what is your familiarity with Moon Knight as a character?
You don't know him, Ryan?
First time I'm hearing about him.
Okay.
I'm hearing him.
Devin, how about you?
I have a very specific, stupid story with Moon Knight. So my dad used to go to the comic book store all the time, and one of the times we went in, the guy behind the counter was like on his high horse or something, and he had a Moon Knight action figure. And everyone that would walk into the store, he'd be like, "Who is this? Name him. Name who this person is." And if you didn't guess that it was Moon Knight, he'd go, "See, everyone's just here for the Spider-Man and the X-Men. Nobody cares about real comic heroes." And like, I don't know why he was being such a tool about it, but because of that, I researched Moon Knight because I wanted to be a true comic book fan. So I know the basics of Moon Knight's story. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know the basics because, dang it, that one nerd got under my skin once.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one nerd would have ruined comic books for me completely if I was a kid.
Well, you're just gatekeeping comics. Like, don't do
Yeah,
that.
especially at a store, like a place of business. Do you really want to be doing that to customers?
Of course you don't.
See, that's why I don't buy my comic books in Springfield. So
Worst joke ever.
what I know about Moon Knight is he's pretty much like multiple personalities and kind of the equivalent of Batman in the Marvel universe, like same kind of like style, but he wears a white suit. I'm excited for this show. I don't know much about the character. I'll probably do some reading before the show comes out just to be a little bit more familiar with him. The trailer shows a lot of Oscar Isaac in Egypt, which just takes me back to X-Men Apocalypse. Which
I haven't seen it.
Well, I know we're watching the week Moon Knight comes out, so
Good.
but yeah, I'm excited for the show. I think it's going to be an interesting addition to the Disney Plus shows because this is the one that's kind of the most out there because this is the first one that's introducing a new character to begin with.
Yeah, except for like if you don't count like Monica Rambeau.
Well, I mean, the first one that's like just basing the whole thing off
Yeah.
of a new character. With Wanda, like with Monica Rambeau, you had the connection of Wanda and Vision in that. Can you believe WandaVision's a year old already?
that doesn't make any sense. So hold on. So I don't know about Moon Knight's connections to anything else. Is he going to be an Avenger? Like, is he just going to like show up on the team and he'll be like, subscribe to Disney Plus if you don't know who I am, and like that'll be his contribution to Infinity War?
As far as I know, he's more of a street level character and one of the darker characters for Marvel. So I can see him showing up more in like the Blade stuff.
Got it.
Whatever their plans are for Blade and Jon Snow from Eternals.
That's all I was gonna say. Yeah.
Whatever the plan is for that, I think that he's gonna have a connection there. I don't know if he's gonna be a full-fledged Avenger. I did see an image from the comic books of a lot of street level characters in New York. So like your Spider-Man, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, like all of the Marvel Netflix heroes and Moon Knight. Like, he's part of that group, I guess. But I'm not too familiar with the character, but I'm gonna probably do a deep dive here before March.
Ryan, are you excited about this? I know you like Marvel's kind of jumped the shark for you. This one looks like the most like superhero-y, like you're gonna catch this guy standing out over like New York, arms at his side, cape blowing in the wind, looking at the city that he's now vowed to protect. Like this is the most superhero-y movie I think they've put out in a while, or thing they put out.
Basically, nothing more than a mummy outfit, so they don't like unravel him in a fight. Because by the trailer, that's how it goes on him. Like it's some weird magic mummy roll thing that happens to him when his suit gets put on.
Yeah. I'm not mad about it.
He's the hero. He's the hero we needed at the beginning of the pandemic when all the toilet paper was sold out.
Yeah, exactly. I am interested in it. I am probably gonna watch like the first episode or two just to see if I can get into it or not. It just I got Split vibes from it at first. Sure. So that's what's actually more intriguing to me than the whole superhero aspect of it. I want to know more about like, you know, why is he going in and out of like personalities or, you know, his memory, you know, like when he comes to and he drops the gun driving the van. Like I want to know how that happened.
Yeah.
Like that, like I want that story. So I'll probably end up watching it.
Is he our link to Nick Cage's Ghost Rider back into the MCU?
Never say never.
Feels like it. Exactly.
Never say never.
I want it.
I want
Nick Cage.
I want a live action Nick Cage Spider-Man noir to show up in Multiverse of Madness.
Ew. That's all I have.
I mean, weirder things have happened.
True. That's very true.
If they put a CGI Spider-Ham in there, like, why not? Like, when you open up the multiverse, there is an endless amount of possibilities. Hell, even bring back the Howard the Duck from the 80s movie.
Ugh. I'll have you know, hold on. I watched the last 10 minutes of that movie the other day. My TV will not stop recommending me movies like Howard the Duck.
That's because you watched the last 10 minutes. If you would have watched 10 minutes in the middle or at the beginning and stopped, it wouldn't be doing that.
But the last 10 minutes were fun.
The whole movie's fun. It's just not good. The whole movie.
If it makes you feel better, the last 10 minutes are the only bits I've seen now.
Well, you know what they say, Devin. Once you go quack, you never go back.
Hate it. Oh, I hate it. Leah Thompson was in Back to the Future. Why did she do that after?
Money.
Because it was produced by George Lucas, so it was kind of like, oh yeah, this will be a hit. No. That was Ewoks movie era George Lucas. So
also gross.
Yeah. All right. So Ryan, I hear you watched a few episodes of Book of Boba Fett.
I am caught up on Book of Boba Fett.
Okay.
Actually. I'm liking it a lot more than what I thought I was. They do a few things that explain some characters and some, aliens cultures that I really enjoy now more than I did before. There's a lot of controversy online over a few things. I think all of that can just go up the chimney, personally, because it's fun. Because what they do is fun, and I caught the humor in it of how it's supposed to be, and to me, it fits. Without spoiling, to me, the issues fit.
The only thing I will say about the controversy around Book of Boba Fett that I kind of agree with, and this is minor spoilers for Book of Boba Fett, in episode 3, that is the slowest chase scene I have ever seen in my life.
When I saw it, I had the thought in my head like halfway through it. I'm like, wow, a 30-mile-an-hour car chase. How interesting. Like, that's seriously what I thought in my head.
And for context, I was out of town dealing with family things. So I had to watch that episode on my phone. And I'm looking at my phone like, is it just because the screen's small that I'm not liking this chase scene? Yeah. And I think it is what it is. Like, it kind of makes sense for where they are. Like, I don't know how high speed you can go through. So, Devin, you remember in Battlefront 2, the Mos Eisley map where you could play with all the heroes? It's pretty much a chase scene through Mos Eisley, but it's Mos Espa.
Oh, so they have to
So-
like do a lot of turns.
Yeah.
And stuff
Yeah.
and go fast. Okay.
So they can't really get that fast to begin with.
I
But
was hoping it was a bantha chase, and they were both riding banthas, and that was how the chase
Okay,
went down.
so the one thing I will say about it, in its defense,
Okay.
and the one thing I realized is that every single vehicle chase trope that like you'll see in a movie of like car chases or motorcycle chases or even speeder bike chases, they do in this chase. Like everything that happens in a car chase that's ever happened in a car chase happens in this chase in this market.
Did they knock over a Jawa's fruit? Oh, in a market. They knocked over a Jawa's fruit stand then.
mhm.
They did, and
Yep.
stuff fell from roofs and everything else. But here's the thing, because it's at a slow pace, it's funny.
So it's supposed to be funny
I
then.
think
Like,
it's
that's
supposed
played
to
for
be
laughs.
funny. I
Okay.
think it's supposed to be funny because wasn't it done by Seth Green, that episode?
Oh, was
I
it?
remember
No.
reading that it was Seth's. The third episode was done by one of the Greens, I think. If I remember correctly, reading the credits at the end of it.
I believe it was directed by Robert Rodriguez. Let me look. It might have been written by a Green. I don't know.
Because
No.
I remember reading the name and I was thinking, well, that might explain the humor.
I don't think so. I don't see anyone
All I-
credited writing wise, but
All I really know about it recently is that Danny Trejo showed up because he's on all the promo stuff now.
oh yeah.
And I'm
um,
glad fit.
not even just Danny Trejo. Stephen Root shows up.
Who's Stephen Root?
You would know him if you saw him. You ever see Office Space?
Yeah.
Stapler guy.
Oh, him. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he shows up in this episode. I will say one thing, and this goes out to the internet as a whole. If you think using the words Power Rangers and comparing characters to Power Rangers will turn me off of watching a show, you are wrong. Case in point, Megazords behind me. Power
Yeah.
Rangers is not an insult, and that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, that and people want to talk about like what inspired Star Wars to begin with, like style wise, and how it was like a mixture of like Asian film and American like westerns. The whole Power Ranger thing, yeah, that's based off a car culture group from Japan.
Yeah.
So what they're making fun of fits for the theme of what Star Wars is supposed to be going off of.
Plus, if Boba Fett gets a Megazord by the end of this, I'm all set.
Oh, he might.
What if he does?
He might.
Yeah.
Is this show all right? So all I know about it is Danny Trejo's in it. Something Power Rangers, and there's a dance sequence.
Yeah.
Is this a funny show?
It has its moments. You actually
It does
quote.
have its
You
moments.
actually quoted one of the funniest moments of the show without even realizing it.
Yeah, you
Okay.
did.
Yeah.
Well, is it okay? So is it lighter in tone than Mandalorian?
In
depends.
places, yes.
In
Like
places,
scene to
okay.
scene.
Yeah.
It's like scene to scene.
I mean, here's the thing: is I'm a bit like Ryan when it comes to Star Wars stuff, and like I'm pumped for Obi-Wan. Give me more Ewan McGregor, please. I'll take it.
Mhm.
But like I don't know that I care about what Boba Fett's been up to. I heard that Disney leaked another Star Wars franchise show, and I think it might be following named Cara Dune. Is that it? The other Mandalorian. The
Oh,
one
no,
that is played by Katie Sackhoff now.
No, Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan. I think they're doing a Bo-Katan show. Couldn't care less. I'm sorry. I really want to watch Rebels. Like, I want to be the kind of person that watches Rebels. I know the going is slow in the beginning, but like I can't do it. I haven't brought myself to finish the Bad Batch yet. Like I might just be burnt out on it, but like is it worth pushing through the burnout to watch? Or is it not gonna add much more to what I already know?
I would see what I like about this
Mhm.
is that they're taking the Boba Fett character, and I am someone that never got the hysteria around him because outside of the books, just in the films, he does literally nothing except for fall into a Sarlacc pit.
I mean, yeah.
So that's been my view of him ever since I was a kid. Was Slave One a cool ship? Yes.
hmm
That's all I cared about him was because of the vehicle that he drove. this to me is building a pretty cool character, and I really like him. As someone who didn't care for this character prior,
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy with where they're going with him, and I
Yeah.
like it.
It's like redeemed it for you.
Yeah,
Got it. I might watch it.
Yeah,
even Pikachu back here liked it.
Detective Pikachu. He's wearing a hat.
Detective
The
Pikachu.
difference.
Yeah, I'm with Ryan on that. Like, I was never a huge Boba Fett fan. This is exploring a character in a time period where we don't know what he was up to. And I think it gives some insight to where he ended up in The Mandalorian because of the flashbacks and such. And I'm excited to see where the show goes. Like, I'm probably going to wake up first thing in the morning and watch the latest episode. So...
And at the very least, it's giving that actor work, because I really appreciate him for what he contributed to the Star Wars franchise. I really do, because he did so much for Star Wars.
He did, and like there are moments where he's just doing voiceover, where I just get flashbacks to playing the Battlefront 2 campaign because that's his voice.
That's right. I forgot about that. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So and he's fantastic in the show. I don't know if you've seen any of the press that he's done.
No.
But he talked about like wearing the helmet. He's like, this right here. This is the moneymaker, like talking about his face. And he's a very talented musician. If you haven't listened to his album, Tem, I definitely go check that out. But yeah, so Devin, you should definitely watch Book of Boba Fett. We might end up doing an episode on the whole show at some point. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
So I watched a thing over the weekend. And I sent you guys part of it, but I even got to break out my shirt that I bought back at DC Fandom. Peacemaker premiered on HBO Max over the weekend. And I say that it premiered on Thursday. They dropped the first 3 episodes, and I've watched all 3. And I've got to say, I'm really enjoying this show. It's doing everything I wanted it to do with this character, with expanding on his backstory, trying to redeem him in a enjoyable way, but he's still kind of a dick. John Cena is absolutely nailing the role. I think the supporting cast is phenomenal. But the opening credits are the highlight of this show.
Is that the highlight?
I have listened to that song about 5 times today, and I can't get the image of John Cena and the cast dancing the way they dance and the eagle landing the way it lands out of my head.
I'm going to be honest. I've listened to the theme song 5 times since the start of this podcast. I'm listening to it now.
Oh, really?
I love it. I love the intro to this. I haven't seen it, but if anything's going to make me want to watch this, it's going to be that intro.
Yeah.
I'm happy for both of you.
That's all I wanted. Is just Ryan's.
Where Devin and I read my shirt and we're excited. Ryan reads it and he's like disappointed. Like it's Peacemaker.
I mean, I just have issues. That's all.
I'll say this. This is the first DCEU show that we've gotten that is part of this expanded universe that DC is trying to maintain, but also like rumors are that they're rebooting the whole thing and canceling out a lot of stuff. Oh yeah. I'll get into that in a second. This sets the bar very high for the DC shows going forward that are connected to these movies. Because HBO Max is also working on a Penguin show revolving around Colin Farrell's Penguin. From the Batman, and Gotham PD from the Batman, and I think some other ones, and I can't remember them all because I can't keep track of what's a movie and what's a show. I know the Batgirl movie is in production right now. They just released a picture of her costume.
Oh wow!
But this sets the bar very high for the DC shows for me, at least in the DCEU. Out of the DC shows that are on the air right now, this is blowing them all out of the water.
Really? Because I know you're a big fan of
I am, but I can only see the Flash like mess up the timeline so many times before it gets repetitive. And that happened before Crisis. Like I'm starting to it's becoming a pain to have to watch these shows, but this is like a fresh jolt of energy.
Well,
Because I love like Doom Patrol, but even that is starting to feel like this past season felt kind of slow.
Well, so Ryan and I both saw Suicide Squad, or the Suicide. This is the Suicide Squad,
Yes.
right? So we both saw the Suicide Squad. Give us elevator pitch of what Peacemaker is, because we know the character, we understand who he is and what he's done. Pitch me this show quick, because I don't know what this is even about. I know they do a dance number in the beginning, and it's wonderful.
In order to stay out of jail, he's recruited by Waller again to assassinate a senator who has been compromised.
Okay, done. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ryan, why don't you like this?
I'm
not offended. Look, I'm not offended. I don't care. I have no personal stake in the show.
I did not find Peacemaker as a character at all interesting in the movie.
What's interesting to me is he's actually addressing what he did in the movie. Like, he's dealing with the fact that he killed Rick Flag, somebody who he respected, and what it means to be Peacemaker, who will kill anyone for peace. And like reflecting on what his mission statement is as a hero, because he pictures himself as a hero, but everyone else is like, "Oh no, you're that racist superhero." Only, and he's like, "No, I'm not racist." And it's like him trying to find himself as a superhero and working with a different team. And
okay,
yeah,
well, I will give it a chance. When it comes to humor, either I can understand what they're trying to do, but I just don't find it funny, or I laugh off the couch. Like, it's either one or the other, with me. And when it came to Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad movie, it was one of those things where it was like MacGruber. Okay, I get it. I get why some people find this funny. I get why they are doing this joke, because there were other characters that I really liked. And then I found funny, and then it came to him, and I was kind of like disappointed, because I've seen John Cena be really funny, and I like his sense of humor, and none of that came across for me in the movie. Maybe in the show it might.
He definitely is able to step into the spotlight more in the show than he did in the movie.
Sure.
Because it's his show, like he's the main guy.
Yeah, and my biggest concern is that, like, here's a perfect example. When they get to the island in the movie and they find that camp of rebels, and him and the other guy are like killing everyone in it, and they have their little back and forth, their little squabble or conversation, like, that was supposed to be really funny, and I liked what the other guy was saying, but I didn't find anything the Peacemaker said during that whole thing funny. Like, I got the timing, I knew what they were trying to do, I understood the jokes, I just didn't find the character they developed that John Cena was acting in, didn't really find the way he was coming off to the timing just didn't work with me. And when you said that there was going to be a show, I'm like, great, it's going to be 15 episodes of that.
So I think the best argument I can say for this show was this was not planned when they made the Suicide Squad. This came out of James Gunn's boredom during lockdown, where he just sat down and wrote all these episodes in during that first lockdown, and HBO was like, okay, yeah, let's do this. So it came. This is some of the best entertainment to come out of the COVID lockdowns outside of Staged on BBC.
Okay.
I don't know if I know what Staged is.
It's the David Tennant, Michael Sheen show.
I need to watch that.
Yep. Which they are doing a third season of, which is the announcement for that is phenomenal, and I'll have to send it to you. Okay. But yeah, if you haven't seen Stage, I highly recommend that. And on that note, I think it is time to get into today's main topic. Ryan's pick for the film this week was the 1987 film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Predator. Ryan, take it away.
Okay.
Please do it in that accent, please.
I can't. So Predator came out in 1987. It was directed by John McTiernan, the guy that did Die Hard, right?
McTiernan.
Yeah, the guy that did Die Hard, right? If I remember correctly. Okay, good.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho ho ho.
This is gonna be great.
The rest of the show.
So this movie basically made a franchise. Its premise is that there is an alien race out there that comes down to Earth during the hottest times of the year and basically hunts our most dangerous members of our society and collects their skulls and spines. And so in doing so, it's very graphic, it's very violent. It was made in the 80s, so obviously it was going to be. Arnold Schwarzenegger is the lead actor in it, along with a bunch of his buddies that he likes to pull into movies with him. Carl Weathers is one of them.
That made me happy.
There's a pro wrestler. Where is he?
Jesse Ventura.
Jesse Ventura is one of them. And you'll find both of them in a lot of movies that Arnold Schwarzenegger was in the 80s, simply because he had that much pull, is with the studios. This was one of the first really violent movies I ever watched as a kid that my dad let me watch, and I instantly fell in love with it. And there was also that conversation afterwards of like him telling a 7-year-old, "No, you can't use those words. You can't use." So this is not my favorite Predator movie. This is the one that I will definitely say is the best quality, I feel, when it comes to the franchise. This was the best Predator movie made, even though it's not my favorite. But I wanted, since that's my history with it, that's how I see it. You guys, neither of you had seen it, and I kept on forgetting that Alan hadn't seen it. So I'm going to start with Alan.
So I have seen this on like TNT. So
Okay.
I haven't really seen it.
You haven't
And
seen
I have
it.
I had only seen this like the third act. And even then, I forgot how the movie ended. I thought it ended a different way than it did. I remembered elements of it, but not like completely. Like somehow I think I got the ending of this and Jurassic Park twisted together. Because in my mind, I pictured both of them in the helicopter leaving.
Good.
But yeah, I had seen pieces of this. I know the memes from One Ugly Mother to Dylan, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
To the arms. Which, when I asked you for the meme, I thought that's what you were going to do. I was not expecting what you sent me. If you want to see that, go check out our Facebook and Instagram page.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I enjoyed this. The only other Predator film I have seen is Alien vs. Predator, and that was back when it came out on DVD. So it's been a few years.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my my history with the character. That and Fortnite.
Okay.
Like he showed up in Fortnite as a free character. So
I had an argument about this off air, and I don't really want to pick it up again.
Well, no. I will say this: like they took a lot of elements from this film and put them into the game for when he was in it. Like the car running as a generator was in the game. They had like a little camp there, and the character was like in game and would kill you, and it was a pain in the it was a pain in the ass. Like I almost said pain in the neck. No, it was a pain in the ass. It was annoying as hell.
But it was like so satisfying to finally get him.
Yeah. Because that was
so they made him tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And like that's like the coolest skin Devin has.
Hey, excuse you. I have Rick now.
Oh, okay. I stand by what I said.
Good. You should.
But yeah, I enjoyed the film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Devin?
Yeah. So I watched Alien vs. Predator in theaters. That was my very first introduction. I missed the TV series he did with Chris Henson. I didn't see any of that. But I did know basically these TVs. I'm kind of.
Do you know why? Do you know who I am? Yeah.
But essentially, I knew like this character. This is one of those movies that I figured I've seen because I've seen the memes. I know the memes. I know that it's Arnold Schwarzenegger in the jungle. I knew that he like muds himself up and goes to like kill Predator that way. And then I was like, you know what? I've seen this movie. Like, I'll like quote get to the choppa to anybody that's seen the movie, and they'll go, "Oh, he's seen the movie," and then I don't need to do the legwork to watch the movie. So that's my history with this movie.
Okay.
Like every movie that I've done that to, I was wrong. This movie did genuinely surprise me in a few ways. There was, it was kind of beat for beat what I expected.
Yeah.
There were a few ways that it did surprise me, though. I think the setup was a lot cooler than I thought it was going to be. There was a little bit more political intrigue involved than I thought. It was just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, get you and your buff friends and go check out this weird thing in the woods. And like that's all I thought the setup. And it was much more interesting than that. So I thought that was cool.
Good. So
I have a very specific, stupid criticism of this movie we'll get to later.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be an episode of the show if you didn't have a very specific, stupid criticism of the thing that we watched?
That's what my personality is built on.
Real quick, I forgot to mention the one thing I do know about this film is that Shane Black was casted.
Yes.
Was cast to help with the script on location, and that's why he's an actor in this film.
And that's why he was the first one of the army group to die, because he refused to help with the script because he wanted to act, not write. And that's why they killed him off right away. That's why they
that's really funny. I didn't know that.
So he didn't help with the script?
No, he didn't. He refused. He looked at it. He did like the first day, like sit in a meeting, but he wasn't really involved in anything.
I was gonna say there were some elements of this that I could see his sense of humor come through, especially with like the Jesse Ventura, like "I don't have time to bleed." Like that felt like a Shane Black line. But like that moment for sure.
Honestly, though, that's in a lot of stuff that Arnold Schwarzenegger was doing in the 80s. You'll get a lot of one-liners like that, like when he stabs the one guy and he goes, "Stick around for a while."
Oh,
but I'm happy you guys both like it. I can put this away.
What was this for?
I was gonna throw it through the camera so it'd hit you in case you didn't like it. Yes, you did.
I hated it. I hated the movie. For anyone listening at home, Ryan has a hammer.
Yeah,
I threw it off to the side.
Don't forget, we are also an audio podcast, not just video. So visual gags don't really work.
My real question is like, what's not to like about the movie? I mean, the movie is like, the movie delivers on its premise. The movie does a good job of cementing Arnold Schwarzenegger as an action and not comedy star like I know him as.
Yeah.
Like, I get it in this movie. He's super believable. The relationships between the Marines are believable. I mean, maybe people don't like aliens and they're like, "Oh, it's too sci-fi for me and my, I don't know, sentimentalities."
Anybody that I know who doesn't like these movies don't like violent movies. So it's not even a genre that they're interested in.
Okay.
Almost everyone almost everybody who I know who doesn't like this movie doesn't like it because they don't like violent movies. So,
I think a valid criticism of this movie, and like at the time, this was probably more the case than it is now. They don't really dive into the Predator at all and like his backstory. So when you say that he collects like the toughest fighters and collects their skulls and spines, like I didn't really get that from this movie.
That's from the rest of the movies. That's
from
the rest of
it.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
That's definitely from the rest of the movie. Predator 2.
Can I tell you what I know about Predator 2? Just from what I know, like it doesn't take place in a jungle. It takes place in L.A. and it stars Danny Glover.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into that. So, the reason why Arnold Schwarzenegger is not in the second one is because the studio and Arnold Schwarzenegger were $250,000 off from each other.
Wow.
So instead, they got Danny Glover to play a cop in Los Angeles, which sounds really familiar, in a world that can almost be he is a cop in Los Angeles that can almost be set in the same country as Detroit from RoboCop. It's got that same crazy criminal element feel to it where like the cops are just like going out of their minds
Okay.
Oh wow.
because how violent things are. And it's a really hot summer in Los Angeles. And all of a sudden, all of the biggest crime lords in LA just start being found skinned alive, hanging from their penthouse apartments. Well, not skinned alive, but found skinned, hanging upside down, like they do in the jungle in Predator. And so Danny Glover and Busey have to.
Gary Busey?
Gary Busey's in it.
What?
So Danny Glover and Gary Busey are kind of like at odds at each other, and at the end of the movie they work together to finally like catch up to the Predator. And at the end of that movie they show the ship.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't
Okay.
want to know. You're gonna make us watch it. I know. So I don't want to know.
Yeah.
So hold on, we get more backstory on the Predator and why.
Oh, you get a ton more. Well,
okay, good.
You get a ton more backstory compared to the first movie.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I'll stop there.
So they dive into the lore a bit in 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So given that Arnold Schwarzenegger has gone back and revisited every other character he's played, mainly the Terminator, and he's coming back for the twin sequel. Like, why hasn't Schwarzenegger shown up in any of the other sequels up to this point?
Well,
is there a reason for that, or
it's a combination of money and who he wants to work with, because he was asked I was reading an article because for prepping for this from the website Looper, I read an article about this, and he said in multiple different interviews they pieced together his answers, and pretty much it's either not enough money or he doesn't really know the people that are actually directing and producing the movie.
And he has to really trust who he works with.
Yeah. And so there was never really a good fit for him to come back that he felt that was right for him. And unfortunately, he also has a view that, sequels don't really pan out. Sequels to original blockbusters sometimes don't always pan out, because the studio will get like, oh my god, this movie made so much money, we can make more money if we just make the movie cheaper, and people will come because the first one was so good, we'll make about the same amount, and it usually never happens. And that's what happened with this one.
Such a weird take from the star of Terminator 2.
I think he's just trying to beat around the bush and saying that they wouldn't give him the money that he wants.
Whoa.
Because I mean, in 1987 is when this one came out. The second one didn't come out until 1990. I mean, he was doing Twins by that point.
Yeah. I mean, Terminator 2 is one of the best sequels of all time. It makes, you would think that would make him want to do more sequels. This is the guy who also starred in Terminator Genesis, which is one of the worst sequels of all time. Like, the fact that he did that and he doesn't, we had Shane Black direct a Predator movie a few years ago. The fact that he doesn't come back for that,
which honestly,
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, but and you guys will. And the only thing I'll say about that one is that, to be honest, for what Shane Black was doing for the Predator, I'm glad he wasn't in it.
Oh, interesting.
Which, when you guys see it, you'll understand why.
Okay.
So what is the best Predator movie then? If you were to say okay, this is why people like Predator, it's because this one.
So we're clear, it's Predator, Predator 2, the Predators, and the Predator. There's only 4 actual Predator movies, correct?
Technically, the Alien versus Predator movies
and then
are
those.
part of it.
Okay, and then those
are part of it. Yeah.
Okay. So, but just in the Predator standalone franchise, not the team up movie with Alien. That's those 4. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to be honest, I would definitely be like, let's change the universe. Devin, you came to me and said, what Predator movie should I watch to understand the hype around this? Yeah. I'd say, to be honest, knowing you and your personality, watch Predator. And then watch Predators. If you like both of those movies, watch Predator 2 with an understanding you might hate it, and then watch The Predator. because you don't get all of the jokes and all of the payoff in the Predator if you don't watch the first three.
Okay. I'm going to say this now. I hate that they did Predators as number 3, and it wasn't like Aliens as number 2. Like, I don't know why that bugs me so much, but it really bugs me.
Well, you've got to understand the quality of Predator 2, which you guys will be seeing here soon anyway.
Well, I mean, so the Alien Predator thing, we'll get into, because I assume that you're building up to that, Ryan, correct?
What? The
Alien versus Predator?
Well, have you guys both seen it?
It's been years.
I mean, I'll pretend I haven't seen it so we can do it on the podcast, because we have to. We have to at this point.
I've never seen the sequel, so if we have to do Alien AVPR, like, that's fine.
Those will be a double feature then.
Okay.
Doing both of those movies together.
Because you're definitely making me want to watch this whole series.
Yeah.
So, just out of curiosity, and if you don't know the answer to this, that's fine. What is are those movies canon to the Predator movies that came out after those, or not?
Or was it like a reboot, or like a soft reboot, or a?
Are you talking about the Alien versus Predator movies?
Yes.
It's all part of the same thing.
Okay.
Oh wow.
It's all part of this. Like,
do they acknowledge events from Alien versus Predator in Predators or the Predator?
They don't really ever bring that stuff up.
Okay.
But in the Predator, they bring up Predator, the first movie.
Okay.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. The whole thing with Alien versus Predator is it's kind of confined into itself.
Okay.
So
sure.
It wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me, given what they do in the other movies, that they wouldn't talk about it.
So can I compare it to this, and you tell me how far off this is? Are those movies like the Deadpool films to the X-Men franchise?
You know what? Yeah.
Okay.
You can throw that in there. It's one of those things where it's like, if you want it to be part of the franchise for yourself, it can. If you don't, you don't have to worry about it.
Okay. Real quick, I just want to mention something that came up in the chat. A friend of the show, David, said one of the classic movies I have seen is Harry and the Hendersons. The late Peter Hill, who played the Predator in 1 and 2, played Harry. I did not know that. That is phenomenal. What? And that is the best piece of trivia I have seen all week.
That's really cool.
That guy did a lot of work in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
But one of there's a lot to talk about the series and the whole universe connecting the Alien movies and the Predator movies. And if you really want to stretch it out even further, the Blade Runner series, because technically that's part of the Alien universe, and the Predator universe is part of that. So this is all together in one giant egg.
Wow.
In the 1987 Predator movie, one of the aspects of this film that I really, really like is just the balance of 1980s corny humor, like with Arnold Schwarzenegger giving his one-liners. You've got Ventura wearing an MTV listen to MTV shirt just randomly in the jungle. But then you've got actual good 1980s action in this, like when they bust up that little camp they find in is in the middle of the jungle, because that's like a 10-15 minute long fight scene of just people flying off of like search towers and being blown up. It's great. Getting blown up.
That was what drew me into the movie. I was like, I didn't know this happened. I love this.
Yeah, especially after the 10 minutes of dialogue-free introduction to Alan Silvestri's score, which I loved because it's Alan Silvestri. But I was like, this is an action movie. Like, at least somebody says something.
It gets, and then after that, it gets real intense really quick. I have to say, for me, when I was a kid, the most striking scene, because I saw this, my dad rented it from either Blockbuster or one of the other regional chain rental companies, and I watched this full rated R, and the
Whoa.
most shocking scene to me is and will always be when they find the original group that went in,
Mm.
and they find them hanging. That always disturbs me, that scene, because one of the things I like about this movie is that the gore that they have looks good,
Yeah.
and they don't pull any punches from it, and it's even gorier in the second one, which is amazing.
I mean, the scene where Carl Weathers loses an arm, I was like, whoa, like that looks like a really good fake arm, and it looks practical, like
Mm-hmm.
because you can
Yeah.
kind of tell when the movie's switching between practical and not practical, and to be honest, and not practical, it's like it didn't age very well.
Yeah.
But the practical effects are amazing in
But
this.
but even
Mhm.
for what they were going for in 1987, I don't think I can hold it against the film how bad the
No.
CGI looks. Because it dates it for sure, but for the time, like, and what they're going for, I think it worked out pretty well.
It was
Um,
amazing. I mean, I remember seeing this again when I was like 7, like
Mhm.
7 or 8. So we're talking 1992, 1993
Oh,
is
wow.
when I saw this, and even then, like, going out next couple weeks after watching that movie, there might be a strong wind and a tree branch might move, and I'm looking up there a little closer than I normally would.
yeah, there's not many films I can say this for, but I feel like this would be better watching it on VHS. Like, I feel like those effects look better in standard def than they do in HD.
You're
Yeah.
probably not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
Mainly because of the way that the air, like the way the active camouflage is supposed to work
Hmm.
in the later movies, especially in like the newer ones. It's supposed to like bend light, and you can kind of see them a little bit,
Hmm.
but it's not supposed to look like the dude's wearing a suit of mirrors either.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what it looks like now. What did you guys think? I mean, granted, we're talking about a 1980s body count movie, so when it comes to talking about it as, on more of a critical spectrum, is kind of silly. But still, what did you guys think of the bond that they were trying to show in the unit that Arnold Schwarzenegger was a part of?
I think it wasn't as good as the one that I saw in Aliens. I definitely liked them as a team better. You
Okay.
can tell that they had history though, because I like that Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers would play off of each other quite a lot. I like them. I like the one guy's gimmick of like always telling the awful joke at a bad time.
That's Shane Black. Shane
Yeah,
Black.
yeah.
That would be me in the situation. Just based off of our conversation before the show, Devin. Like, that's
Yeah,
me.
right.
No, I think I didn't really feel like the unit meshed well together. Like, everyone had their own shtick. Like, Jesse Ventura's like, I don't have time to bleed, and Shane Black is making bad jokes, and Bill Duke is just kind of like, we're not alone. But I did enjoy the dynamic between Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers, because they were clashing but also had a respect for each other, but that respect started to fade away very quickly once the action picked up, because Schwarzenegger became like not trusting of Carl Weathers. But I enjoyed that aspect the most, I think.
Yeah, so my favorite chemistry is between Ventura and his buddy.
Oh.
Just because to me those were the only two besides Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers. Obviously, they have history, and it's in the and it's definitely the most in focus. I like those other guys simply because of just how much, and this comes from watching the movie a ton, how much the one guy takes Ventura's death so hard.
Sure,
and then when you rewatch this movie and you see their interactions, like how they're, like they're sharing a flask, the way that they talk to each other, you can see it the second time around better. their chemistry that those two guys have a little bit more. But my favorite character in this, and Duke, their tracker, the one who's like
Oh,
staring
yeah.
up, and he's always like, I'm always upset that he never got a fight scene that you actually got to see.
Right, he just got off
Because
camera.
because all he does is scream. And to
Mhm.
me, it's one of those things where it's like, in the later movies, they show the predators like they kind of match up against what they're hunting or what they're, whatever they're hunting. To where when Billy
Mhm.
cuts his chest and he's holding the machete, if it was the Predator or Predator 2 or Predators, the Predator would have took off his shoulder gun and brought out his blades, and they would have had like a knife fight.
Right.
And I really would have loved to see that, because I feel like that character deserved a true on-screen death and not just a scream in the back of the woods.
I bet I can tell you why they didn't do that.
Because they were on the log.
Huh? No.
Oh.
Budgetary restraints. I guarantee that in time.
Yeah.
Budget and time. That's usually. I bet I can almost guarantee they were in the script and just didn't get filmed, or they're deleted scenes somewhere.
Yeah, because they really focused on him a lot more than really anyone else, and I just find it surprising that the one unit member that has the most lines in this, I think, is Poncho, the radio guy, he doesn't really do anything besides like bring up the rear of the unit, and that's it.
Yeah.
No,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was saying, so the now that we're talking about the characters, can talk about the one part of this that I really hated.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is anything that anyone ever has against this movie. I just thought it was really silly and stupid. Loved the movie. Movie ended. Went, wow, what an ending! How great! Wow, look at them. Like, that was like a huge bomb that went off. Looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger survived. Neat. Then there was like a 1980s high school movie-esque montage of the characters smiling into the cameras. Why?
Because it was late. Because it was 1987.
I didn't want to see Dutch. I don't see Arnold Schwarzenegger as the movie was ending.
Yeah, but honestly, Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't smile. That was a scene from the movie where he turned around and stone-faced.
I saw that on TikTok before we watched the movie, and somebody compared it to a sitcom opening. I was like, yeah. You can put the Full House theme song over top of that, and it works.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That was it.
What I think they were going for and failed. They failed at it. What I think they were going for was the whole unit died, so this is like their remembrance.
Their memorial.
In memoriam.
That's what I think they were going for. That's what I really think they were going for.
It would have been a lot more dramatic and fitting for that if they made it black and white. Except for Schwarzenegger's, because he lived.
Yeah, like.
So while we're talking about everyone dying at the end of this film, does the girl survive?
Yeah, girl survives. She's on the helicopter that swings in to get him.
Okay, so she got to the chopper. Okay.
She got to the chopper. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you kind of did it. That made me happy.
I did it in the accent. I didn't do it in his voice.
Yeah,
that's all that matters.
Good looks. I'll take it. Take what I can get.
Yeah. So.
Okay, because honestly, by the end of this, I was kind of like, I've had a week, so by the time I was watching this, I was exhausted, so I was kind of dozing off.
Sure.
I missed that. Yeah. I also missed Get to the Choppa. When I watched it, I had to go back and rewatch it at that part, because I was like, I watched it. I was like, wait, I missed that line. That is in Predator, right? Because I just said it was in Predator last week, and I had to look it up on YouTube quick. I was like, okay, I did miss it because I was like dozing off at that point.
Yeah.
Which is not the movie's fault. It's just life.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it happens. And one of the more surprising things to this, and I've probably had this realization maybe once every 5 years with this movie. It always surprises me how long this movie actually is, because when I watch it, I get into it, and it doesn't seem like almost a 2-hour long movie to me, but it is. It's like an hour and 47 minutes.
It was quick. It didn't seem like that long of a movie to me either, though. Because I mean, I was super into it too. I mean, I understand like that's a bit long for like Predator kills people in the woods. But I mean, I liked it. I thought that they used the time that they had well. It didn't. Did it feel like it dragged to either of you though? At any point?
Just the opening. That was about the
Just
only
the opening?
time. Yeah, just the long montage of no dialogue or really any sound effects, just music. I found off-putting, and just took forever.
The only part that drags for me is the moment of when they come up to the camp to when they start shooting. And I
Sure.
know it's probably only like 5 minutes, but
Mhm.
one of the funniest things that Kristen pointed out to me, because this is again this is a movie that she likes too. So when I said we were doing this, she wanted to watch it with me. One of the things that she pointed out that I've never realized before, and now I can't get out of my head, and I laugh every time. When they come up to the camp, Arnold Schwarzenegger slides down like a 15-foot embankment and like slides up by a log, and he looks out, and then he tells everyone else to come down and do the same thing.
Mhm.
When they all come down, you hear leaves rustling under them, because they're sliding on leaves. You can hear
Yeah.
the sound effect of the leaves rustling. When Arnold Schwarzenegger slides down, there is nothing.
He's like a land seal.
He's
Smooth.
yeah, exactly. Even though he is the biggest one in that unit, sliding down, he doesn't make a noise, nothing.
Well-
but everybody else sliding down, you hear the leaves and the sticks break and everything else.
That's because his body is made of ice. Have you seen Batman and Robin? No friction.
He didn't have that procedure yet.
I was impressed at the practical effect of somebody that definitely wasn't Arnold Schwarzenegger, but somebody jumping off of the large waterfall. They kept cutting to someone that clearly wasn't him, but I was like, good for them for doing it.
Well, that, and you can tell when it goes from like normal film to like 35 millimeter film for like the last 3 seconds of that fall.
It's like weirdly grainy when he hits the water. Like, that was the only take they had.
One thing I was really impressed by, and I think the film does really well, is the lack of Predator. Like, it takes forever for you to see the Predator, kind of like the shark in Jaws. And I always like that as a tension builder, like not showing the threat, but knowing that it's there and hinting at it the different ways that you do. And I think the film does that really well.
Oh, it does. And that's what builds up the tension for what would normally be a very slow grind to a film. It uses that aspect of like not showing the villain to drive the army unit nuts, because they're trying to figure out, why Sean Black's character died. And you've got their prisoner going, the jungle came alive. And they're like, bull crap, it didn't come alive. Like, like that whole thing. And then that leads into my favorite scene of the movie, is when you have the one guy find his buddy with a football-sized hole in his chest, and he picks up his mini Gatling gun and just starts yelling and screaming and shooting into the jungle. And then the whole unit just goes, he's let's join in, and everybody just starts blasting the jungle. And I know that they probably rigged maybe a good 40-50 feet of jungle to just like blow up in front of them, which is what they did. But in reality, there wouldn't be a tree for at least a football field's length in front of them, if not more. To be honest, with that mini Gatling gun, their M16s, you got Carl Weathers and his P15s or whatever those things are called. Those submachine guns, there'd be nothing left for like 100 yards in front of them.
Oh yeah.
But that's what I base the meme around, which is just them, Predator hunting guide rule 5: if one of us is shooting into the woods, the rest of us start shooting into the woods. And as far as I know, with the people that I've interacted with in person and online, that's one of the biggest like inside jokes of being a fan of this film, is just is just the unquestioned support of like one of your buddies doing something really silly and stupid, but you're going to join in anyway because you're their buddy. It's like you show up to a party and you see your friend just start to like pour water down like over their head, and you just join in because
This
I
is
guess
just what
that's what you
happens.
do.
Just
Yeah.
do this now. Well,
Um.
I think for them was also a bit cathartic too. It's like when you're like trying to solve a very, very like complex problem, and you're like you're trying to like figure out why your TV's broken, and you're like, looking at the wires, and you're like, okay, this connects to this, and like this connects to this. Then and, like after a half an hour, you're like, screw it, and you hit the TV really hard.
Yeah.
Like it was like their version of hitting the TV really hard. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to find this invisible thing that everyone keeps calling different things. I'm just going to shoot this way, and hopefully we kill something.
Yeah. And the whole green blood thing too is something that I've always liked, even though as far as I'm concerned, the green blood really doesn't make sense when you find out what it actually looks like. Like I feel like its blood should still be red. But
Really?
I have this thing, and
Okay.
it's not backed up by science. It's not backed up by um by biology or chemistry at all. It's just something that I have in my head when it comes to like humanoid aliens and what the color of your insides look like. For anything that has like a tan or pink skin, tan, pink, or anything on our spectrum when it comes to just humans in general on the on Earth, it makes sense for red blood. That makes sense. Just because just because of how we look,
Right.
regardless of where you live on the planet, it makes sense to have red blood.
And like when you blush,
Star
you get like the
Trek-
red undertones. Like when you
Yeah.
blush, you get those red undertones.
Right.
Exactly. And in Star Trek, Vulcans, their undertone is green. Their blood is green.
Oh.
Okay. Andorians are blue. Their blood is usually a very dark blue or purple because their undertone is blue.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Predator, it should be red.
I looked at it as, and like the explosion at the end kind of backs this up, I think. I looked at their blood as kind of radioactive. Like
That's what it looked like.
radioactive waste, kind of. Like that's why it's green.
Okay. Which means that lady's going to lose her hand and her leg to cancer.
I mean,
She's
I don't know if it's like super strong radioactive, but like because that's a nuclear explosion at the end, right?
It
Pretty
seemed
much.
like it.
Yeah, but
with
it's
a mushroom cloud.
It's
Yeah,
a small nuke. Yeah.
yeah.
It's the one thing I will tell you is that in, in Predator 2 they reference that explosion. And
cool.
And the official statement is that explosion took out an area the size of 300 city blocks.
Wow.
Which honestly makes no sense that Arnold Schwarzenegger would live.
That was exactly what I was going to say. He just ran away from that through the jungle. But okay.
He just didn't have time to get radioactive poisoning.
Yeah, that's pretty much all it was.
That mud, the mud protected him. It was just the lead.
Yeah.
It's always
So-
the mud.
This gets to my two last things.
Mhm.
What did you think of the whole mud and the way that the Predators saw things? And then what did you think of the alien design? Because I know you guys have seen Predator before in other media. You know what their faces look like. Now you've got an up close view of their face.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to say anything like new because those are the two things I kind of knew about going into the movie. Is the heat vision and the look of the alien. So like we were saying in the show before, like the Predator is in Fortnite. Like it's one of those characters that a lot of people can just recognize. And like it's become part of pop culture. Like when you have two franchises combined for a versus movie, like those two characters need to be iconic, and I think that's why Alien versus Predator worked, is because everyone knew who the Predator was and who the xenomorph was. So I liked it. I really enjoyed the practical effects of the alien without its mask, especially in its dying scene. The way he laughed and it came out almost as human. I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Okay, so about the like heat vision stuff, like obviously I knew about that before, but I didn't realize how like nonsense his vision was. Like every scene when they like showed like heat vision Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm like, how is he telling anything apart here? Like it was bad. I mean, I get it that that's just like part of it. And if I eventually I was like, look, he grew up with it. He knows what it's like. But I was like, I can't see any detail in anything with this poor guy.
And I would expect part of it that we don't get to see in the film is smell as well, because he is hunting them, and that's a big thing for a predator is to be able to smell its prey.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
And I guarantee all those guys smell being in the jungle like that.
Oh, probably.
Yeah. So, yep.
Go ahead.
Get to the shower.
Well, the one thing that to talk about his design, I knew his design obviously beforehand.
Yeah.
There was a detail about the design that I didn't know about until I watched this movie that I thought was very clever and I really liked. Because I know that like Predator kind of makes like clicking noises, and that's just like what he does. I didn't know it was like upward facing tooth clicking on downward facing tooth.
Yeah.
Like there was like a close up and you like saw the one little thing like wiggle, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Don't make him just click, like make parts of him click. I don't know. It was a cool detail that I thought was really neat.
Yeah. So I lied. I have one more question, but this is kind of a humorous one because this is something that comes up in a later movie, and I'm not going to tell you which one, but it's something I want you guys to start thinking about.
Is it Alien Covenant?
No.
Okay.
When it comes to the Predator and its name, the Predator, and how you guys saw it doing its thing.
Yeah.
Does the name actually work? Like, is it a predator as in like it's preying on lesser, or is it hunting for sport? And in that case, shouldn't it be called the Hunter?
I mean, it feels to me like that like old timey like book. I think it was like a short story that keeps getting adapted into movies once every like millennium. Was it the greatest hunt, or like the most deadly prey, or the most deadly hunt,
most dangerous game?
That's it, where like rich people just hunt humans because we've lost the will to live, except for this is the only thing that gets our bloods boiling. It felt like that. Like it feels like there's this planet of like rich aliens that are like, we're bored, go kill humans.
I think to counter your question is, so we're all from like from Pennsylvania. Deer hunting's a big thing. Would a hunter in the woods be considered a predator to deer? Because I would say yes. It's a threat to a group of beings that are become prey. So I would say yes, the predator name makes sense.
Okay.
Oh, like he becomes like the apex predator on the planet. Therefore, like it's the only thing
in that neck of the woods, pun intended. Like to them, he is a predator. Like they are at risk and in danger of being clawed to death, or being hit by a tree in the chest. And to counter that, like there is a show coming to Hulu that is a prequel to this called Prey. So I think that fits into this as well. Like, I think he's the predator and we're the prey. Like that's the way this works.
Okay, so predator works better for you than hunter.
Yes.
Okay, Devin.
I think we're talking about his strict actions. I'd say that he's more hunting than he is predatoring. Like if I had to attach a verb to his actions in the movie, I would say that he's definitely hunting and not.
Hunting's a verb. Predator's a noun.
To predate, he's predating. I don't know.
I think they're the same thing. I think he's hunting them, but he's a predator. Like
okay, a predator that is hunting them. Okay,
yeah.
Okay. You can get on
because correct me if I'm wrong, English majors of the world, but hunting is a verb. Predator is a noun.
And right? Hunter can be a noun.
It
Yeah,
can
it
also
can,
be
yeah.
it can also be a name of a frat boy who has daddy pay for
True.
all his bills.
So so
That was not
at the
targeted at
moment,
anyone
both of
specifically.
yeah. So
Anyone.
both of
Anyone.
you are in the camp that the name works.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I am.
Okay. When we eventually get to the movie that has that same question, when we do that one, I'm going to ask you if from everything you've seen, it still works for you.
I'm gonna
take a
get.
huge- yeah,
I'm gonna
go
take a
ahead.
guess and say that's a Shane Black question. Like it's in his movie.
Oh, it's Keegan Michael Key that delivers the line, isn't it? I can't even guess the actor.
Can we just jump to that movie because it feels like Devin and I have already seen it.
It's going to be a little bit, but
Okay.
but we'll get there. By the time fall rolls around,
Uh-huh.
we would have done it already.
Okay, good.
So it'll be soon. But I have this, and I have a special movie that I'm prepping you guys both for. So I'm technically prepping you for The Predator, and I'm prepping you for another movie I'm not going to mention until it's time. But was it every movie I pick from here on out is going to have to do with one of the two.
Okay.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
And it's going to be such a mix of movies. It's gonna
Ryan
be fun.
is out for revenge. Okay. I think that does it on Predator. Let's talk about next week. Next week is a very special week here on You Have to Watch This podcast because not only is it Devin's birthday, it is also my birthday next week. Our show happens to fall on the day in between both of our birthdays. So I am it is my choice for the episode next week. So we're going to make Ryan watch MacGruber again. No. So for next week, we are going to watch a film that made both Devin and I's top picks from 2021 that has to deal with birthdays and turning 30. We're going to watch the Netflix film Tick, Tick, Boom, starring Andrew Garfield, directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda. So if you haven't seen that yet, I highly recommend watching that on Netflix. It's already won some awards for Andrew Garfield and been nominated a bunch. I was looking up to see when the Oscar nominations come out, not until February 8th, which is my mom's birthday, which is weird. But yeah, so tune in for that next week on Tuesday, the 25th. And before we wrap this up, Devin, I've been meaning to ask you, we made a bet, and
Spider Bet.
Where's my money, Brian? Where's my money?
No. Look, I have the coolest plan for that,
Okay.
and it's so. I'll give you a little hint into this. It can't happen until the week of Valentine's Day.
Is
For
that the
a
week?
very specific?
Is that the week you're in town?
Yes,
Okay.
but if things go the way that I'm planning, I won't be in town. So yeah, so I have a very, very cool thing that I want to
Okay.
do for this, and it's in my mind worth putting off until then for this reason. So
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about, and I'm going
Okay,
to
good.
I'm going to give you a deadline.
Okay, good.
I don't really have any details on times or anything, but our friends over at Victims and Villains will be doing a awareness-a-thon on the weekend of the 18th through the 20th of February. And we will be part of that. And as part of our stream, we'll have Devin's Spider Bet video.
Perfect. All right, done.
Because if you're going to be in town, I can help you with the editing. So,
Oh, easy. Okay, cool.
so stay tuned for that. Tune in next week for our Tick Tick Boom episode, because we're going to kind of get into some award stuff here over the next few weeks, whether it's full episodes or just part of We Watch This. I'm going to try to watch more award nominated films. But yeah, so if you're watching us on Facebook, go ahead and hit that like button on our page. You can also head over to our Twitch page and hit the follow button there. We're trying to reach affiliate status. We're almost there. We just need a few more followers. So please, if you haven't already, head over to our Twitch and follow us there. You can listen to You Have to Watch This podcast on all major podcasting platforms. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Devin and I have something special planned for TikTok for next week's episode.
Yeah, we do.
So make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok to see that. Ryan's going to get roped into that too. He just doesn't know it yet. But your part will be easy. Don't worry. You don't have to worry about choreography. Devin and I do. So, I think that does it. For you have to watch this podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And get to the chopper. We'll see you next week.